the hand got completely bugged and it was not working.
My PC.
Ship it! It's done! It's 4 AM! Let it be over! If this is your first time hearing of a game jam, let me explain it to you quickly. So it's basically a battle royale where the host gives the developers a theme that they duke each other with to see which is the last developer left standing. And I won! I swear. This year's theme was Countdown, so I decided to join because I wanted a little bit of a break from my game seasonal lockdown and create something new, because nothing says better than a break than to create a game within 4 days. Well, technically for me it was 3 days, because I didn't even know that the game jam started. Enough about that. So every game starts with a plan. Mine was pretty simple. Number 1, brainstorm ideas. Number 2, prototype a game. Number 3, polish it. Easy, right? Well, maybe if I wasn't completely alone. So I had 3 game ideas of which to choose from. The first one being was pretty much just a simple bomb defusal, but I decided against that because that's very cliche at this point. Then I thought, what if you were a meteor? Your goal is to fall and hit the planet Earth. You would have a timer that would constantly go down, and when it reaches 0, you win. But the humans aren't just gonna let you kill them for free. The plan was that the humans would attack you, fight back, and you would have to throw little meteor pieces of you until you inevitably hit the planet Earth and win. But every time you were to use an ability, your timer increases and your size decreases until you become so small that you couldn't win anymore. And that's your lose condition. But then another idea popped in my head. What if the player could rewind time with a stopwatch? And I was like, that's it, that's the one, that's the game I want to make. There's so many ways I can push this. Maybe we can like fight people and we have to first fist fight them, hit a person, take their gun, shoot another person, throw the gun at another person, rewind time for ourselves, grab the gun, reload the bullets through the time, and start shooting at other people. Now that I think about it, this is kind of like super hot, but instead of slowing time for everyone, you're just rewinding time for yourself. But I forgot the fact that I am alone and that I only have 3 days to make the game. So I started working on the basic first-person movement system, and thankfully that part went pretty smooth. But then it came down to adding the rewind mechanic, and it did work. But it was really bad because it was choppy, and when you would rewind, the character would be facing the completely opposite direction of where you were originally facing. And also the biggest problem, if your FPS were to go below 50, the whole system broke. The camera would be standing still and you would see your body just float away into the sunset. And then after the rewind was over, the body would snap back to where your head is and it would pretend that nothing ever happened. It's trying to gaslight you. But I did manage to actually fix it, and now everything works smoothly. The character no longer chops when they're moving backwards in time, and it works even if the FPS is lower than 50. But the problem is, that was pretty much my whole day for the first day of the game jam, and I only had 2 days left. So after I got that to work, I quickly sat down and started to work on the first enemy with a gun. But then I realized that this would be my first AI enemy that I would create with a gun. And I was running out of time for the first day. So I had to decide to cut that content altogether and create a much simpler enemy altogether. And honestly, I'm glad that I did, because that enemy is actually quite cool when you look at it. The interesting part is, by itself it's very boring. But once you add a lot of them, that's when it really starts to come alive. More. 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 Let it rain!
Wait, what's that noise? Oh my god, my PC!
Jokes aside, you can have 1000 of these enemies without dropping a single FPS. I only started to notice FPS drops when it started to reach the 1200 mark. I could optimize it to the point where we could probably even squeeze 2000 of them, but it's a game jam, I don't have enough time for that. So I called it a day, I created the enemy, I created the basic movement system for the first day, and now we're going to day 2. So at first I wanted to create like a neon alleyway for the map, but as I was working on it, I realized that it would take too many details to actually finish it and make it look good. So I had to think of other ideas. Another one that came to mind was to actually create a sewer system. And that works out perfectly because of a few things. First, it's because it's really easy to make. And second, because I can easily make a grid out of it. Grid, you say? Now, any normal person would create one map, but I'm no normal person. So I wanted to create a randomly generating map, because we have so much free time. Because I believe randomness just adds so much more uniqueness to each run and keeps it fresh. because you never know what you're gonna get next. There were a few bugs, namely that the models clipped into each other when they were generated, but that was very simple to fix. And now we go to the final day, day 3. On day 3, I wanted to add the actual character's hand and the stopwatch. So I created them both, animated them, uploaded them to Unity, and whoops! The hand got completely bugged and it was not working. So I had to sit down and recreate them all over again. And on the second try, it did work as intended. Who would have thunk? So we set it up on Unity, add the animations, and I wanted to add a small detail where the arm does not move if your character does not move as well. Now this took a lot of time, because when you're scaling the animation speed to match with how fast your character is moving, it creates a lot of issues, especially when you're switching between animations. In the end, I did manage to get it to work, but there was this one goofy scene where your character moves like a Looney Tune character. And after that, I created the ball enemy. That was pretty simple, it's just a ball. So, there goes half of my day, but I still have sound effects to create, the lighting for the environment, and create a tutorial with a main menu. So, the first thing I started working on was the sound effects. Any normal person would probably just get outside and touch grass to record sound effects for walking. But that's disgusting, who wants to touch grass? So, I saw this plastic bag next to me and I was like, I can make that work. And using that plastic bag, I ended up making the sound effects for running. You can hear it right now. With some tweaking, it really turned out nice. Then, I wanted to add the sound effect for rewinding the time. At first, I wanted to make like a JoJo sound effect where you would stop the world. But I didn't know how to do that, and I didn't really have time to experiment. So I just went in with what I could. I grabbed a ticking sound effect, I lowered it, I sped it up, I added some other effects on top of it, and got this. So another issue is that the player didn't know that when they press the button that the rewind ability is actually working. So I added a ticking sound effect to symbolize to the player that the rewind ability is active at the moment. But there's also this bug now that the ticking sound effect does not actually stop. Sometimes it just keeps going for longer than intended, and I just didn't have the time to fix it. So I had to leave it as is and continue on to the next part because it was getting dark at this point and I still had to add lighting and stuff like that. So the last thing that was left is to add lighting. But at this point, I really was running out of time. I had no time to actually add more models that would show where the light is coming from. I pretty much just turned it into a horror game. I killed all of the lights and just added 2 light sources coming from the player. And actually, I really liked how it turned out. It was 2 AM at this point, and now I needed to create a tutorial. But I was at this point extremely tired, I could even barely keep my eyes, I was constantly losing track of everything. So I created a very basic tutorial that doesn't even explain anything. I just typed Q, rewind time. I bet people are not even gonna understand how it works. I was supposed to create a main menu as well, at least a pause menu, but then I realized the system I created it on doesn't really support any way to pause the game, so I was like, ship it! It's done! It's 4 AM! Let it be over! But then I realized people are probably not even gonna play my game if I just upload it to download. So I was like, okay, I remember people saying that for game jams, you should probably just upload it so that it works on the web. So I was like, okay, let me figure out how that works as well. So I sat down, watched the tutorial, I somehow managed to get it to work. I didn't even test it, I uploaded it on itch. It worked! Like, I sat down, I play tested for a little bit, I didn't see any issues, I was like, we're done! Ship, publish, it's over. I'm going to bed. And that's pretty much my experience with the game jam. Maybe don't do game jams alone. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, like, comment, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Also, if you're interested, you can check out my game right now. Seasonal Lockdown. Wishlist on Steam. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye!